Hey everybody, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program RP-0. We are here at the Space Center at large today because we've accumulated 2.6 million funds, and it's time to blow most of it on upgrading our Research and Development Center. The upgrade's going to set us back 2 million, but it will remove the cap on our science so that we can finally unlock some of those nodes that are unavailable to us due to the science cap. As you can see, we've accumulated 5,907 science, but this is the other thing I wanted to bring up first, was our continually long list of unresearched things that our R&D center has yet to kick out, and it's several years worth of work that they have left to research. So it is definitely the choke point of our space program. If I had the money to just buy more upgrade points, I most certainly would, but I think I would rather upgrade the building. It'll probably take about a year or so to complete, and then we'll start going through and unlocking some new technologies that won't be researched until well into the 1980s. Just as an idea of some perspective. So let's just go ahead and spend this money before I talk myself out of it, as I've done many times before. So here we go. Upgrade. Boom. 2 million spent. It's going to take 400 days to finish that. Good news is we'll keep doing our research. I'm probably going to go through and move some of these things around. I want to take another look at the tech tree before I do it. It's probably going to be a long, involved, and quite boring process. Some of these don't even have any parts in them. I just wanted the upgrade point, so I bought them anyway. And some of them do unlock some interesting things later on down the line. But these two, electronics and nuclear propulsion, I have specifically because I have moved them to the top of the list. They are definitely the things that I want first. Early space stations just after that is also there on purpose as part of future missions that I have planned out. But everything after that is just kind of where it ended up. So, and I've also ruined for you that I'm building another shuttle, well, it's going to be STS-6. It's another Shuriken model for some satellite launches, but we're going to get to that a little later. So in the meantime, though, I'm going to go into the VAB, and we're going to do some simulation and some flight testing for Project Iron Sands. So I'll pick you guys up in just a moment. Alright, and we're back. We are here out at the launch pad, and this is the Operation Iron Dust. I'm sorry, I may have misspoke earlier calling it Iron Sands, but we'll get more to Iron Sands later. This is our test vehicle for a Mars surface sample return vehicle. Early prototyping phase, but we're going to try some high atmospheric testing today. So I've got a booster stage built with a single E1. Throttle is set to full. Let's get that sucker lit. And get the clamps off, and we're away. We're not going to have avionics for a little bit because I'm a cheap bastard. So we're just kind of hoping that this guy's going to stay nice and straight, at least until we burn off enough fuel to have some control here over our gimbal. And then we'll begin our testing phase. Looks like we are clean through the sound barrier and still right on heading. Still no avionics, but you know, these things do happen. The point here is basically to get into a more rarefied section of Earth's atmosphere so that we can more accurately see what this thing is going to do in the Martian atmosphere. Is kind of the hope. And see exactly how well this thing performs, and if it's up to spec, and if it is, then we'll make some changes and bring it more up to mission spec, and then test it again, and again, and again. Because, well, this is going to be the baseline for any attempt on sending a crew to Mars. We needed to figure out how to do it, how to get there and back, and how to get back up into Mars orbit, and then how to get them home. Most of those we have the answers to, except how much it's going to take to lift off from Mars and get back into a Martian orbit is the only part of that equation that we have not yet solved. Oh wow, we're going to come into a very high apoapsis here. I should have been paying attention to that. And we'll stage that off and light our 6... Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 Asterisk 2 engines. And just kind of let them try to put some angle on this flight instead of just going straight up and straight down. I have removed a lot of their fuel because I didn't really think we'd need them, although in retrospect maybe that would have worked, because now we're in space. It's going to be very hard to do some atmospheric testing while you're in space. Alright, let's take a look at our telemetry. Okay, well, we're going to go very high, and we're going to come down very fast, and we don't have a heat shield, because I didn't think we were going to go this high. Excellent. So let's just try to negate some of this. If we have to use all of that fuel, then so be it. Seems like quite a waste, though, doesn't it? I guess we'll get to more of the atmospheric part of this atmospheric test later on. But it does mean we can still cleanly test some of our other systems here. Ooh, good thing I checked my staging. We need to move these down. Yeah, I had very little effect on our heading. Very little effect at all. And we're just going to go ahead and burn those engines clean. There they go. And we'll stage off our first fairing. Kill RCS for a second. Let's check our power draw. We're showing net 0. Excellent. There are several RTGs on board. A few down here and 2 more up here in the ascent vehicle. I was hoping that they would be able to provide power all on their own, but if not, I included some solar panels that apparently we don't even need. That's awesome, because that's a bunch of weight we can save. Alright. And so now I guess I'll test the separation of our ascent vehicle and see how that goes. 3, 2, 1. Oh, helps when you set your throttle to full, but we did get a clean separation. That's even better and good. These side boosters are not fueled currently, so checking for their fuel staging doesn't matter a whole lot. Those are burning nicely. That's full. That's full. Those I topped off and they're not burning, so good. Our fuel burn order is good. And come on, ditch those SRPs. There we go. So this is obviously not the final iteration of this design. It will need a little more Delta V, I assume, to launch from the Martian surface and get itself into orbit, but that's all it really needs to do. Per my initial design specs, I may change that up later. Alright, stage off the laterals. Oh, that was the wrong button. Or I, again, failed to check my staging. As you can see here, we've included a docking port that we hid behind a fairing for aerodynamic purposes, both for re-entry and ascent. At least that fairing will be needed a little, I guess, in the early stages of ascent. Good, our electric charge is still holding full. I wonder if this engine has an alternator, though. Let's shut it down. Good, still no draw on the electric charge. Perfect. Well, so far so good. If we can just, we'll do some ground testing to make sure it can clear the base stage without too much effort. But while we're here, we might as well... Yeah, okay, good. All of our RCS ports are firing. And let's just do a couple other RCS balance checks. Alright. So, little issues with some of its lateral controls, but it doesn't seem to have too much of a problem reining those in. Yeah, of course, obviously those would work just fine. So hopefully docking won't be too much of a hassle. Well, that worked pretty well. Alright, well. Let's get on to some further testing. Alright, we're back again. The test vehicle essentially is identical. I've just reduced some fuels. I need to go ahead and adjust some staging things here. Yeah, that needs to go way down there. Alright, well, let's get this off the pad. Lit, clamps are off. Yeah, that's going to shoot like a rocket. We should get avionic control relatively soon, and then we're going to adjust laterally. Hopefully before all of this fuel is spent. There we go. Let's see if we can't bring some angle into this equation without flipping the rocket around. Yeah, high G-load turn here. Wow. I don't know if it's liking this very much. Boom. Alright. We'll let some of these flames cool off a little bit. We're going to get up to our apoapsis of about 76 kilometers. Let's just check our telemetry. Not going nearly as far as I would have liked, but oh well. This might actually be a better test bed than I thought. Yeah, we're slowing down rapidly enough to where it's displacing the fuel from our Astris 2 engines. That's a bit of a surprise. But I think we're high enough now to where we can RCS them back into function. So let's just go ahead and stage that off. Ooh, buddy. Maybe not. Alright, well, let's get this pointed at a retrograde angle, if we can. Oh, hey, now we've got engines. That's awesome. I do like it that it's kind of naturally drifting towards retrograde. Now the basic concept here is to try to use this as a lifting surface, kind of like a heat shield, and push off the atmosphere as we're coming into Mars to help slow us down a bit. What remains to be devised is a method of offsetting the center of mass to make that kind of a more natural event instead of trying to fight through it with RCS. As we're probably going to attempt to do now. But also, what needs to be adjusted here in our staging would be some chute stagings, which are configured for Mars. Alright, that's not bad. So we do have enough thruster power to maneuver around in what would be Mars atmosphere. Although I don't think we're quite fast enough to see a good lifting effect off of the bottom of the spacecraft. But I am going to have a look here at our trajectory. Yeah, it does not look like that's moving, so no big deal. Let's fire up our engines. We want to make sure that we can have a control here in a descent, especially in this level of atmosphere. And so if I can wrestle this thing around a bit. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Too bad I'm going to screw it all up by adding a bunch of junk to it. Yeah, we're definitely coming down in the water. No big deal. All right, well, let's get a little closer into the ground here. And then starts our deceleration. We'll try to bleed off. Oh wow, that is having a massive effect on our speed. It's a lot better than I would have thought these engines to do in this dense of an atmosphere. Very interesting. I'm kind of hoping it just wants to fall naturally, but it looks like as the atmosphere gets thicker, it's going to want to turn around a bit. Yeah, it kind of wants to be nose in. That's no big surprise. So we'll do it a favor and shed some weight. Or not, whatever. There we go. So have those thrusters been firing the whole time? They shouldn't have been. But oh well. Good, that tank is locked. So I do have parachutes on this that are intended to be staged independently of one another, not all at the same time as I have them grouped here. Because we've got some specialized drogues, and then a high altitude chute and a low altitude chute. How much delta V do we have left? 120 meters a second. That's not ideal. I don't think we're going to shed off another 40 meters a second before we get to the ground, and all of this thruster burning. So we're probably going to have to deploy some chutes. That's a big bummer. I was kind of hoping for a suicide burn landing just because they're cool. I just don't see it happening though. I don't really want to ruin the lander, so I guess... Oh, that's okay. Come on. No. Well, interesting. I don't think it's going to right itself when we hit the water. Oddly enough. That's very interesting. I guess the chutes need to be up a little higher for added stability. That's good to know. Glad I'm doing these test runs. Well, should we test the ascent stage? Even though I'm pretty sure we're going to be lopsided in the water? Yeah, alright, why not? This will be an interesting test. Yep, saw that one coming. Unsuccessful. That's an interesting place to stutter. The good news, however, is this is going to land upright and safe. Alright, well, I'm going to do some further testing on this stuff. I think I've discussed many of the big changes that I need to make, like a means probably with Infernal Robotics to offset the center of mass for the descent stage. Obviously there's some issues with the parachute height and the ascent stage that need to be rectified. Are these parachutes uneven? I don't see the two dorky tiny chutes. Oh man, I guess I just didn't copy those over because they're different. That's a lot of parachutes though. Even for Mars that might be overkill. But we're going to remove the solar panels, offset center of mass, raise the parachute height, and then ascent stage problems, namely low delta V. But if you guys have any suggestions or comments or anything else like that as far as getting a chunk of dirt off the surface of Mars and back to Earth, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. I always love hearing from all of you. So that's going to do it for us today, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out. I do appreciate it, and I'll see all of you in the next one. So until then, see you later.